Hi, my name is Janet and I'm 7 years old. It's a Rapunzel tower. You play with Rapunzel. Well, you can see her hair glow in the dark. Do you see the light go on? And then she has like a friend named Pascal who hides in the fireplace. He's a chameleon. Yeah, this is her kitchen. She has 2 cups hanging on the rack, and then 2 plates on her table, and a stove.
She started to reject the toys that she had, trains and cars and things like that. She wanted to get little dolls and proper tea sets, things like that. Plastic princess shoes that she could wear.
I always like to play with dolls. I do have a Rapunzel wig. It's in the closet.
It wasn't till about 4 years old, we were talking about God, and she said, I don't think God is so great because God made a mistake when he made me. And shortly thereafter, she talked about cutting off her penis, and that concerned me a lot.
I never felt feminine. I knew it was wrong to say anything about it. They wouldn't understand. What do you mean you're female? You were born female. My name is Alex, and this was me 5 years ago. I'm a much happier guy now.
The scientific research is minimal, but we know that the brains of people who are transgender are more like the brains of the sex to which they aspire than their birth-assigned sex.
I was the first girl to take woodshop in my junior high school. I was the first girl to climb the ropes in the boys' gym. I was the first girl on the high school ski team, and I was the first so-called woman construction cable splicer for Pacific Northwest Bell, not only because I enjoyed doing those things, but I also felt that people needed to know that female bodies could do these things.
It can happen to anyone. It happened to Lieutenant Commander Christopher McGinn.
When I did come out, everybody was shocked, even my mother, because I just wasn't an effeminate guy, you know.
A lot of people want to know. They want to know, did you play with dolls or did you play with trucks? Well, actually, I played with both.
I remember I got into my grandmother's makeup, and the first time it was not a big deal. You know, boys don't play with makeup, you know. But I remember that was an issue at that time, because I remember doing it a few times and finally getting a spanking for it. So that was really the first hard lesson that that's not okay.
There was always what could cause this, or why am I this way? Why am I different?
I spent my teenage years and my 20s trying to have somebody or something that I identified with, that felt the way I did, and I really didn't find any. I remember I was dating a girl in 11th grade, and she says, you have really pretty eyes. Let me put some mascara on you. And inside I was like, yes. I was because for that second, I could be sort of who I felt I was, you know, and so she did. And she said, wow, you have really pretty eyes. And that made me feel so good. And really all that was is somebody paying Christine a compliment, really, and having gone through life for so long, and Christine, this who is me, you know, just not being recognized. I think it just felt so good. But then I got very uncomfortable about it, because I think I didn't want to show that I enjoyed it too much, and then I think I got very embarrassed. In college, being in a fraternity is such an immersion in what I call guy culture. You know, how many women do you know that have a chance to live in a fraternity for 4 years? You know, that's how I look at it. So that's where I met my first wife, was in college. Well, after college, I went to medical school, and within the first year of medical school, I was married. And within a year of that marriage, we were getting divorced. Looking back at the whole situation, I don't blame her one bit, you know, because she probably could tell that I wasn't a guy, you know, and it's exactly right. I wasn't man enough for what she wanted. But I know that I felt as if there was something wrong with me, because my whole life people were saying, there's something wrong with you. You're not allowed to wear your grandmother's makeup. You know, you can't play jump rope. So when things ended, the first thing I thought was, you know, there's something wrong with you. That's why she left.
He was an athlete, a rock and roller.
Ensign Christopher McGinn, Medical Corps, with honors, military, and physical fitness distinction.
An officer in the U.S. Navy. A husband. He was a flight surgeon, selected by NASA to serve on 2 space missions. But upon his discharge from the armed forces, Chris McGinn would set out upon a different mission, from which he was never to return.
A lot of fear, you know, it was Pandora's box. On the one hand, I finally felt as if I knew the reason why I felt those feelings about my gender, but on the other hand, there was a lot of fallout that was going to happen from it.
She was in some terrible pain in her life.
More importantly, you know, I was married, and I would have to discuss this with my wife at the time.
Her wife found her hormones and said she wanted a divorce.
And it probably wasn't going to be a good discussion.
I think he began to realize that he had to do this.
I saw that other people were feeling exactly how I was feeling, and that, you know, you could be transgender and still be attracted to women, which was how I felt, and I slowly started educating myself and learned that gender and sexual orientation are different entities, and they are related in some facets of life, but for the most part, they're different things.
I think he first came to me dressed as a woman about not very far into the therapy, maybe 6 or 8 weeks into the therapy, which wasn't easy because she was moonlighting at the hospital and working on the naval base, I think, still at that time.
I had my name changed right before I was discharged. So on the last day of my active duty, I notified the commanding officer that my name had been changed, and so to legally discharge me, they had to have Christine McGinn on the discharge papers.
He froze his sperm and began a process known as transition. First, living as a woman.
I think the more that she did that, the more that she could see her future.
We've been following Chris McGinn in the weeks leading up to the day that he becomes Christine, both in mind and body.
Then, surgery.
The first part of the operation will be the augmentation mammoplasty, where we augment the breast and make the chest look more feminine. And then we'll change and do the bottom part.
One of the risks of surgery, it's a very bloody surgery, and I bled a lot. And I started bleeding in the middle of the night after the surgery when the hospital was pretty quiet. I actually almost died. So it was really a rebirth, for sure.
The kids were to line up for something, and there was a boys' line and a girls' line, and Danny went to the girls' line. And the teacher said, no, Dannon, you have to be in the boys' lane. You're a boy, and you know that.
And I didn't have much friends, and people were mean to me.
Her kindergarten teacher, she said this has to stop, the princess backpacks and lunch boxes and things like that.
They would tease me, they would call me names.
Telling people that she's a girl.
She's also wearing lipstick.
Cocoa head, they called me once.
We couldn't figure out what we had done to cause this, or what somebody else had done to cause it.
So, Bill and I decided, okay, we're going to take a different approach. We're going to make a stance. Okay, at home you can do whatever you want, but you're not going to dress like a girl outside of the house.
A boy wears lame clothes, and a girl wears good clothes. Ooh, look at a pirate dress.
It was around Halloween of last year. She wanted this huge dress, Southern Belle, with frilly skirt and everything. And I told her no. I said, no, you can be a witch, you can be your, vampire princess or whatever, but you cannot, this is just too much. She threw an absolute fit in the store, and I had to pick her up. She was biting me, she was kicking me, screaming. I had never seen her like this. I was terrified. I thought, oh my God, we're gonna have to, check her in a mental institution or something. I didn't understand. And I thought, well, she's just a horribly spoiled child, or she's mentally ill.
I thought that buying her the toys, the dolls, and things like that might encourage this, what I thought was behavior.
When we got home, she got out of the car and screaming, I don't want to live anymore. We lived on a busy street and ran into traffic.
No, I don't want to ever be a boy again.
She also at that time was starting to construct nooses and wanted, put them around her neck and say, I want to die. We started to realize this is not just a child who's gay. My gay friends said, well, I dabbled, I tried on my mom's nylons, but, I still thought like a boy. I still was a boy and was aware of being a boy. Dannon has started to identify herself as a girl. And if you called her a boy, she would get very angry. And she, was inflicting, wounds on herself. She would throw herself against the wall. She would attack people physically. I mean, it was very disconcerting, and I really had thought, oh my God, we're gonna have to commit her.
Running away, death, drugs, suicide, that was not something I wanted to think about her doing. And I wasn't going to let that happen.
I was thinking of growing up with my little brother by my side. And I just want that, but I guess it's not gonna happen. When was the last time we had a picnic?
I don't know, I'm trying to think. We need to have more picnics.
A little bit, I
so. Okay, this is mine. Here's yours.
Where's mine?
Okay, whoa. Daddy's got all the chips and stuff. All right, well, this is nice. That was a big bite.
It's really good.
Good. I remember watching one evening with my husband, there was a program on television that featured a transgender child, and immediately I realized that's my child. We knew, okay, this is what our child is. We understand now.
I realized then that all the acting out, all the anger, was pain that she was feeling. She couldn't articulate what was bothering her, so the only thing she knew was to act out.
I had never heard that word before, and I had lots of gay and lesbian friends and, bisexual friends, and I had known about transsexuals, but I'd never heard the term transgender.
This is something she was born with, and that this was not a choice she made. No more than it is a choice that someone who is gay makes that choice to be, or that somebody is a certain color.
But clearly she already knew who she was. It's just we were taking a long time to catch up.
My mom told me about transgender, and there were a lot of people who were transgender before me. A lot of people.
I have a little girl that needs to be a little girl.
It means that, well, you were born a girl, but you wanted to be a boy. And so you were a boy with a vagina. And then it also means you were born a boy and you feel like you're a girl. It's okay to be different.
Girl brain, boy body, At home, she was definitely, we got her, feminine things, clothes. She could dress as a girl at home. It's just we had to finish out the school year with her as a boy. So it was kind of like every morning it was a nightmare, because it's like, I had to say, think of it as a costume. You're wearing a costume and going to school.
Pulling her out of that school was not a hard decision. Starting her over, that was tough when she walked out that door as a girl.
Like it, Daddy?
Yes.
Once we made this transition, I remember taking her to get her first manicure and pedicure. And we both, were sitting there getting our nails done, and it was like I had a different child. She was so happy. Nothing like what we used to see. I mean, she's happy, she's content, she's, always singing, she's, very confident, and she knows she's loved, and I mean, just none of the issues we had before.
Girls are girls, but sometimes boy and girl. Boys are boys, but sometimes boys are girls.
It's just that you have to be two people sometimes.
What's wrong? There was like this thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because you brought up something the other day when we were, when you talked about this.
Binder?
Yeah.
It looks painful.
I know you don't like it.
Why do you wear it?
To feel more comfortable. Okay, well, there's like, you know how we're like part of the LGBT, and well, I'm more like a T than an L or a B.
Yeah.
And I know you're more bi.
I'm queer. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, I'm more like transgendered. I was like looking at YouTube videos online, and there was this guy. Well, he was born in a female body.
Okay.
And I don't know, like I was looking at this and I was just like, wow, like I feel like exactly the same that this dude is like talking about. And I've never like ever heard anybody else describe those same feelings. I just thought that, I don't know, I just thought I was weird or like, yeah. Like for you and for other people, like it's so, gender, it's this thing that you don't talk about. It's just like, you wake up, you're a girl, that's it. For me, it was like harder. Yeah, I might not be who you think I am or what people see me as, and I'm gonna change, I'm not gonna stay, I'll get facial hair and like my voice will be low and like, even that's gonna change.
I mean, you are who you are, and I like that. And you're gonna change, and I'm still gonna like you. I love you. So.
There were little things when she was little, long before I knew there was some gender issues. The type of shoes she will use, the type of clothes she will prefer. I could see those things.
Yeah, but we never thought it was something. I never suspected. I never thought anything. It was a normal thing.
She would prefer tennis shoes. She would prefer pants. She would fight me for the skirt. And she was probably 12 years old. She will spend time in her room. She will induce pain, like cutting herself and things like that. And she will do repeated cuts. I was not aware because she will use this wristbands fed, and I would see papers with blood and things like that. So I came to realize something was going on. So I just kept supporting and say, if you need something, just let me know. I'm here, just let me know. But she will hide it. She will put bands around her arms and she will do. So I know she was ashamed, but I think one thing that she actually shared is like, I prefer to feel my pain in my arm than the pain that I'm feeling. And she said, I just prefer to feel this pain.
And I see her coming out of the darkness from the parking lot, and I was just like, I had to catch my breath because she was just gorgeous. You know, she's tall, blonde, blue eyes, with a purse. And I thought, oh, she's straight. Because in her profile, she had also indicated that she had been married. So naturally, I assumed she had been married to a man.
Because I was a resident, I was working crazy hours.
She pulled from her purse 3 pagers and 1 cell phone and laid them out in the bar. And I thought, who comes to a date with 3 pagers?
When should a transgender person tell somebody they're dating that they're transgender is a very good question.
I had no idea that she was trans.
I would always try and tell them before I even kissed them.
With hindsight, you know, I thought her hands were big.
On my second date is when I told Lisa that I was transgender.
And I had asked her about being married on the first date, and she totally cut me off and said she simply didn't want to talk about her marriages.
So I said, well, you know how I said I was married before? And I said, well, it was to a woman, not a man.
And then I just assumed she'd been in a gay marriage. So I was like, oh, cool. And then she said, no, I was the guy. And I didn't know.
So I said, I forget exactly how I said it. I think I said, well, I was born a boy. And it took a while.
And then it like went off like lightning, you know, like, oh.
Then I started getting defensive, which is very common for me after I dropped that sort of information. And I started explaining, and she goes, whoa, 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 whoa. And she just says, I don't need to hear the whole drawn out story. I just want to be here with you right now. And, you know, that's when I fell in love with her right there.
I think I've always known that there is something different.
I am a transgender man. I lived about half of my life as somebody who was born female in this world. And I will be the first to tell you, I don't understand why transgender people are transgender.
Since I can remember, I always felt like I had this big secret, and I didn't know why. I didn't know what it was even. I just knew that there was something about myself that society wouldn't get, or society was telling me that was not okay.
I felt that I was alone. I felt that I was the only person who felt this, that no one else could feel this way because it was so different than what I knew I should feel like.
I used to get up and look in the mirror in the morning, and the first thing I'd realize is the person looking back wasn't the person I wanted to be looking back at me.
I did sort of look in the mirror and say, not so much who is that, but how am I going to grow up to be who I know I am?
I remember having a conversation with my mother when I was 5 years old, telling her I was a boy, why you still buying me dolls?
Well, I am a woman, first of all. A different kind of woman, but I'm a woman.
You know, I want a truck like my brother. And having that argument, no, you're not a boy, you're a girl.
My father, he had a problem with it because it was like I was kind of weak and I was acting like a girl. So, you know, they used to kind of jump on me and beat me up and stuff.
In between middle school, going to high school, when I started coming out in my sexual orientation, and I thought, okay, this is it. I like girls. This is what it's called, being lesbian, bisexual, whatever. I thought, okay, that's my secret. That's what I had wrong.
First time I remember seeing a picture in a Playboy, I think I was 12 or 13 years old, maybe 11, and I looked at this woman's breasts, and I thought, why don't I have those?
Then as I started getting into the role of lesbian or bisexual, I started noticing, okay, maybe there's something else, because I didn't feel completely normal saying I'm a lesbian.
I was supposed to go to college in order to get a husband, not to get an education.
It used to be just a given 10 years ago that when I would get a young person coming in, their parents would bring them to me and say, fix my child. My child says that he's a little girl, this is unacceptable to us, and you need to fix him.
I have never seen anybody become less transgender because of psychotherapy.
It would be not only unethical, but it would really just be impossible for someone to go to therapy and be fixed, so to speak.
For those of us for whom a gender transition is necessary, it is absolutely critical to being our authentic selves.
So, what are the steps to transitioning? Like, what's the process like?
I really wanted testosterone, but now I'm thinking like, I think my top priority would be top surgery, because it's the thing that bugs me the most, is the things that people look at the most and judge me because of it. And I figure, you know, it's a big step, but at the same time, you know, I already bind, people already see me flat-chested, so, you know, that'd be one step just to make me feel comfortable in the shower and out on the beach and stuff like that, and not have to feel so compressed by this like damn binder that takes forever to put on in the morning, you know?
Now I put this one on first, and then this one, and this one. Yeah, this one's like really, really hard to get into. It binds the best, but it is annoying as hell. But
Why do you put it on from the bottom first?
because you end up being so tightly bound, and getting it on takes like 10 minutes that by the end of it you're all sweaty. It just like, it reminds you that you have to bind. So, this is better. But the t-shirts under it help, because you won't have like
scratch marks on you.
by the time you're done putting it on, you just don't want to go out, because you're just reminded every single second that you have to put this crap on to look like what you want to look. You just don't want to get out of the house by the time you put it on.
So when I met Lisa, the concept of Papillon Center, which is our clinic, was already underway. It was a web, internet-based service for information for transgender folks.
People who had nowhere to go. So it was an online resource tool that transgendered people used.
If you build it, they will come. She had a dream of starting a clinic that would serve the whole transgender person. Papillon works specifically with all of the needs of someone who is undergoing a transition from beginning to end. They know that she's transgender, she's never made a secret of that, and it's very exciting for them.
We not only do surgery and provide hormones, but we also work as like a co-op or a clearinghouse for information for people. When you go to medical school, you learn all the stuff about surgery, but you don't know how to run a business, and Lisa learned that without virtually any experience. You know, I've done a lot of other kinds of surgery. I've done burn surgery and cancer surgery, and there's something really rewarding about this surgery. I feel privileged, really, to be there at that moment of their life when everything they've waited for, you know, so much is riding on this surgery for them.
Clovis is a very conservative area. It is a rodeo town. You don't see transgender people walking down the street in Clovis that you know of. As far as having any indication, there was absolutely no clue whatsoever. We hunted together, BMX'd, snowboarded, skateboarded all over town, rock climber, loved to rock climb, and these are all what society would think are mainly male type gender activities.
When I first met Justin, he was the all-American boy.
He always appeared to me to be a normal, pretty normal
a young man.
Just we're really close friends and spent a lot of time, hanging out. And we graduated high school together. We'd ditch school and go snowboarding and go backpacking and hiking and fishing. And
At 8 years old, Justin could get up and camp before anybody and have a fire roaring when you got up and walked out of your tent.
Not macho, though. Not macho at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think all teenagers have difficulties, but Justin seemed to be dealing with more than the norm. I mean, just really seemed to be afflicted, internally somehow. And I didn't know what that was all about.
When I first became aware of something being different, Chloe was 16. She had gone to bed that evening, and I, maybe an hour or so later, went to bed and noticed that she had left the computer on. And so I went over to go turn it off and noticed there was a Dear Mom letter to me. And she said, Mom, I am not in the right body. Again, not using the word transgender, but I am supposed to be a girl.
What? He's what? I've never been around it.
She was just really worried about telling me, obviously, since I'm a guy and we were, guy friends, and
We had some really difficult times during Chloe's senior year. It was a struggle to get her to graduate because she, one, was dealing with being transgender, had anxiety issues, minor drug use that I was not going to allow in my home, and so there was conflict over that. And at that time, Sean lived here, and we backed each other up with the roles of the home.
I did not know all the problems that were going on at Justin's mom's house.
It was a school day, and we came home as Chloe was preparing to go to school, and Sean says, I smell marijuana. You're not allowed to do this. It's not going to happen. It's not acceptable. We're not doing this. And it was a big anxious anxiety attack, and it got bigger and it exploded.
There was an outburst in the morning. He was very upset.
Sean tackled her as she was getting her bike and held her in the driveway, and I didn't know what to do other than call the police.
And she goes to school upset. Teacher sees the visible upset mood and...
What's wrong? My mom's boyfriend just beat me up. Well, of course, the school has to make action on that. So, of course, the school called CPS.
Child Protective Services.
Chloe come home from school that day and said, Mom, I cannot live here under the pressures that are in this house, and I want to go live with my father.
Chloe's very emotional.
Her shaking, her eyes getting big, sweating, just anger, intense anger.
She can be very happy, very angry, every shade in between,
Even to the point where once or twice she would even punch herself in the side of her head because she was so frustrated.
1,000 cries for help.
Holding on to that and not coming out and speaking about that for the years that she's known this, from 7th grade, knowing it for a fact.
I did not know how Justin felt in his head.
All the way into her senior year is a very long time for somebody to walk every day of their life knowing that they're not in the right place.
I didn't know that he felt as a female and wanted to be Chloe Ann.
I'm 55 years old. Started transitioning when I was 53. Have felt this way all my life. I grew up in an era and in a part of the country where being different was very difficult.
I have lived, obviously, my whole life until the last couple of years as a heterosexual male. And looking forward, I'm not sure exactly what my life's going to be or where I'm going to settle.
I was probably somewhere 8, 10, 12 years old and would go into my mother's room when she was at bridge club or out of the house and dress in her clothes.
As soon as they cleared the driveway, I was up into my mom's cosmetics in the bathroom, or I was in her dresser reading around trying to find something that made me feel better about myself.
And I could look in the mirror and I could see a woman.
I felt different. I felt good.
And I just knew that this would probably destroy me.
And the fear grows inside your head and you build the worst case scenario you can ever come up with.
So I did not feel that this would ever be a path I could follow.
I came out as Pam 20 years into a marriage, a very happy marriage, as a matter of fact. I married a woman that I did love, and we had 3 great kids together.
Being a woman was the most important thing deep down inside, and I buried it. I buried it so deep and hard. And then my second wife, sometime in 2007, she discovered an article of clothing in my home office. And I was on a business trip and I called her up and said, "How are things going?" And she said, "Well, I found these in your office and they're not mine. I was wondering whose they were."
All through the marriage and even before, I kept repressing these urges I had as much as I could. But the same pattern continued into my marriage. I would find reasons to be home alone, and instead of into my mother's things, I'd be into my wife's things.
And I said, "They're mine." And with that, it all started.
I'd been home alone, and I'd dressed as Pam, and I decided it was time to share it with her, not the kids, just her. And I let her come home and see me dressed.
And I said, "I want to be a woman." And that took her breath away.
It was absolute disaster. She had nothing complimentary to say about Pam. Only stared at Pam for a brief moment before she went in the other room and insisted that the guy she knew and loved came back into her life and that Pam went away.
She said, "Well," she said, "I don't know what to say, but I certainly don't want to be in your way. If you need to discover who you are, I want you to do that. I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to be very, very difficult for me, but I can't stop you. You need to be yourself." And that began my journey.
It was, I guess I was 48 or 49 when I finally began dressing more and more. The kids were out of the house by then. And I started finding friends, and I would go out dressed as Pam. So it finally ended in me leaving the house about 2 years ago, which enabled me to dress as Pam, other than at work, virtually any time I wanted to, and that's what I did.
And so I started the hormones about 8 months after therapy, and the feeling was unbelievable. There was a sense of peace. It's like everything went into Technicolor. I'd lived up my life in black and white, and now all of a sudden everything was in Technicolor, more complex. Everything felt different, sounded different, looked different, and I just felt so happy.
I did get to talk to her on the phone a few times, and I explained to her that the person she knew as her husband was gone, and he was never coming back. And this is over many phone conversations, many long, cheerful phone conversations, both of us crying and, just trying to come to some middle ground. But I told her in no uncertain terms that Mike was gone, and he was never coming back, and Pam was here to stay.
And at the beginning, there was a sense of I didn't know how far I really felt I would go. But fairly early on, I'd say within 6 months, I knew that I really, really needed to completely transition.
Christine McGinn.
Morning.
What are we doing today?
We're getting inseminated today. I'm very excited.
I did have the foresight to see that that was something that was a no-brainer. I definitely was going to save sperm. She said, "You want to come take a look at this?" And so I went over and we both looked under the microscope, and it was the most amazing thing to see that all you don't have to add any chemicals. You just let it thaw out and they start swimming again, and to know that was frozen 11 years ago.
Little one, just gonna feel a little pressure.
I think it's a boy or a girl.
So there are 3 sacs there. 1, 2, then this little dinky sac in here. Little dinky sac has nothing really growing in it.
Okay. 3rd ultrasound.
Initially, it was very exciting.
Looking for a heartbeat.
But then it became very difficult.
The 2 tries after that were both IVF. And they were successful in the fact that I became pregnant, but they were chemical pregnancies. They were empty gestational sacs. So there was never a true baby inside of those sacs.
She lost the babies both times, which was very hard.
We don't know that they're alive or dead. We know that they are non-modal.
Right.
So if they're non-modal, they don't do a whole lot for your purposes.
Each time we would attempt to get pregnant, we would use a vial of frozen sperm. So now, after losing 2 pregnancies and several attempts, it was getting very tense about, we didn't have much left.
So it was always, yes, you're pregnant, but.
Each one of those bigger ones will release an egg.
We're hoping to retrieve an egg from them, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm just like overwhelmed.
We were getting to the point, I think, but she said this might be the last time.
When you go through IVF, they tell you from the time of the transfer of the embryo back into my womb, you're pregnant. But.
Did you hear that? Dun, dun, dun. Something's going on in there.
Lisa?
Come on in.
Right now they've flipped around enough that you can see both heads in the same shot there. So baby B is measuring 14 weeks and 4 days. Baby A is measuring 14 weeks and 4 days. So they're both right on target.
Okay, now we have to find names.
The fact that you have twins increases your risk for cesarean section. So it's something that you may not want at this point, but it is a higher likelihood. It's not a for sure kind of thing.
Whatever's best for the babies.
That's
what
our
we'll
goal. Happy, healthy mom, happy, healthy babies.
Great.
Moms.
Moms.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Dannon turned 8. We have to do 1 to grow, right? 1. You're into birthdays more than I am. 1 extra or just 8 enough?
And is blue your favorite color? One of them. That's good? Whoa. Does that look pretty? Good. You look beautiful. You have to close your eyes super tight and make the biggest wish you can think of, okay? I'm going to sprinkle it on you. You ready?
Oh, she's just been so excited all week.
When she hits 12, she is so strong in who she is that at puberty, instead of just halting puberty and delaying it, I believe we'll probably move forward with, taking the female hormones.
Give it a big hug. You feel good?
I would hope that we could possibly get her surgery a little earlier.
My concerns in the future for her are less than 10 years away. She gets into middle school, and the kids start going to gym, playing sports, and having to shower. And
we couldn't have her in gymnastics or ballet right now because wearing a leotard, there would be something, definitely visible there.
And put it to your heart and make a really, really, really big wish.
I wish I would be biologically a girl.
Happy birthday, dear Dannon. Happy birthday to you. Big look.
Make a wish.
Big wish. All right. Woo!
I wish for this.
Oh, I love you. I do feel that if Dannon did decide that she was a boy or a man and she was gay, that her life would be infinitely easier than being a trans person, especially male to female.
my worries going forward are that people will think she's a freak.
So much of society is still not accepting of transgender people, and that makes me fear for Dannon.
She definitely is comfortable with who she is, and we, as society, have to catch up with her, because she's fine with it, and it's up to us to be as well.
What I can honestly project in 10 years is that we will have a serious teenage you know, daughter who's going to do serious teenage daughter things, and we're going to have to basically lock her in a room every night.
I don't even remember how I started looking at YouTube videos. It was just once.
Wow. It's a free, private, safe environment where you can find a plethora of resources at your fingertips.
I guess I saw a guy and I realized, you know, oh, he has like scars on his chest. And that's when I realized, whoa, like this guy's feeling everything that I'm feeling. When I first started hearing that there was other people that felt like I did, that was on YouTube. And this guy, underworks.com/FTM. So like, it's really cool because, you know, you can follow from their first day of here they are, pre-T, pre-op, pre-everything. And then you look at their last video and they're these like men, you know, like already like 1 year on T, like.
On YouTube I found, and it's for the partners of transitioning guys, and there are even guys on here, which is really cool. See, like week 1 is intros, and then they talk about top surgery, and they talk about public restrooms, and like for a minute you feel like you're the only one going through it, and then
So this is kind of like your resource.
Yeah, this is where I go when I'm having time with you.
Hey. Which is basically changing your body without testosterone. Like in terms of like therapist, because you need to find that out, and then endocrinologist you're gonna need, and surgeons, the endo, Trans Youth Family Allies. You know, parents have a lot of questions, and
they have a blog for parents. And
there you go. Family stories.
If I had the internet when I was younger, who knows what would happen? Probably Pandora's box would have been opened at an earlier age.
There's a lot of people who still today don't have access to the internet within the trans community, both trans men and trans women.
Timing is everything. You know, if my patients that came out in the 60s literally ended up in mental institutions, and some of them have had electric shock therapy over years and have serious damage from it.
But because of what the internet has done, we have been able to see ourselves and see each other so much more quickly, so at such younger ages than we ever were able to before.
I think we are at 13 weeks, 14 weeks. So at this point we're at 14 weeks. But it's a little different for us because we've been trying for so long. I mean, 14 weeks sounds funny to me.
You know, I was a single, self-identified lesbian, and I didn't really seem to encounter any partners who were interested in having babies anyway. I thought I would have to adopt.
I've always wanted to have children, and I think that having kids together is probably the most intimate thing you could probably do. And in all of my other relationships, you know, I've never had that supreme intimacy that I'm really looking for.
Welcome home.
Here we are.
Oh, I love the paint. Aww.
Now it's perfect.
Look how small my stomach was.
I know, really.
Well, that's the side, so that's B. B and A are going to be the side rails.
I don't need instructions. I have a Y chromosome.
Yeah, but it's pretty dormant right now. Is it working?
It's not really.
I was convinced after the growth ultrasounds we were having 2 boys. Unbeknownst to me, we have a little girl and a little boy. So that was the major surprise to me.
And I'll feel an elbow or a kick or a head, and just it's amazing.
You're good at that. You can be like, oh, that's his head, or that's her butt, or whatever. And I have no idea, but yeah, you're good at that.
One of the first things that parents ask when they first have a new child is whether or not that's a boy or a girl. And we, as a culture, put a lot of stock into that answer. The world has put penalties, for lack of a better word, on those of us who aren't clearly defined as male or female, as people expect those categories to be defined. And as a result, transgender people and people whose gender is a little bit different than many people have come to expect experience high levels of violence and discrimination in society throughout the globe.
This is an area of Oakland that is situated between probably one of the most rough areas of town and a few blocks from City Hall. It's a brutal setting. It's one of the places where trans women are often on the stroll. It's one of the places where trans people are often attacked.
Violence against transgender people has been so high that we have started to come together as a community at least once a year to honor those that we've lost over the years. We have an annual Transgender Day of Remembrance that was started in the 1990s to commemorate those that we've lost and to remember the work that we have ahead of us to create a society free of violence. That happens on November 20th of each year.
These are extra chairs in case we need them, but I need more because it is commemorating the Day of Remembrance. So let's do it like that.
Just a piano version of My Heart Will Go On from Titanic.
Okay. Oh yeah,
okay?
that's nice. That was really nice. I'm sorry, Lois is the second group, so she'll be. Okay, she's there. Okay. Yeah, it's Lois Bailey Lindsay.
I'm here to meet my cousin Tiffany, who I haven't seen in 20 years. Tiffany's name used to be Derek. He was my cousin.
So make sure everything has a balance.
I never knew or had any inkling
I'm gonna say
that Derek was a woman.
because we go up on the podium just like that, right? Quickest way. Okay. We want to be on and off, on and off. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you? Good to see
Good
you.
to see you. Amy, I'm Tiffany.
Hi,
Tiffany.
Nice to meet you.
You
Pleasure.
too. Yeah.
A little kind of crazy right now, directing. Wow, look at you.
Getting older.
Okay, but I've changed more than you. Yeah.
Well, you have, but
little bit.
you're still my cousin.
I'm glad you're here. No surprise. Okay, I'm gonna go try to get ready.
Okay. For just a moment. If you parked your vehicle here on this side of the building,
I guess we should do more of our formal welcome. You all have a program, and I'm hoping on every table you also have a printout of all the people who have lost their lives since last November 20th.
Welcome, everybody. This is the 12th International Day of Remembrance. Tonight, Oakland joins more than 200 TDOR events around the world in 19 countries and 39 states.
To mourn, honor, and memorialize the lives of our brothers and sisters who might otherwise be forgotten.
Perhaps the most important way of honoring their lives is for each one of us individually in this room to live the most authentic life possible, honoring their lives and their spirits. To live the lives that they perhaps dreamed of, but never got a chance to live.
Our Father, who's art in heaven.
Rome, Italy, Brenda, burned to death.
Istanbul, Turkey, Batu, throat cut.
Josua Arredondo Garcia, beaten to death.
We aren't just killed, we're killed in the most brutal ways.
Horrid things happen to us. We don't make it up.
You don't have to cut my head off. Do you really have to stab me 17,000 times to make sure I'm dead?
Knives, guns, bottles, and they just do it because they figure that they can get away with it because no one cares about us.
2 unidentified transgender people were found tortured and burned.
Mikey Vallejo Sieber, a 3-year-old baby boy from Riverside, California. Mikey was routinely called a sissy by his father. He was brutally killed by his father, punched, kicked, and dropped on his head.
Fernando Vasquez Roque, tortured and beaten to death.
And when these things happen, no one intervenes. It's just okay to treat trans people as disposable.
No one really knows how I died because the police didn't disclose it. but it happened in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on October 11, 2010.
Another young person got shot, and she was trans, so big deal.
First question is I want to ask if you could raise your hands if someone you know, including yourself, has ever experienced abuse or violence in a relationship. Let's take a look around. Thanks. The second question is I want you to raise your hands if you or someone you know has ever been attacked or harassed for being trans or gender nonconforming. Take a look around. The third question I want to ask is if you could raise your hand if someone you know or you has ever been sexually assaulted or experienced any kind of sexual violence. Please take a look around. I want to ask if you or someone you know has ever been incarcerated. Please raise your hand. Take a look around. I want to ask if you or someone you know has ever struggled to have stable housing. Take a look around. I want to ask if you or someone you know has ever struggled to have stable health care or employment. Take a look around.
The world would have us apologize for our very existence.
The goal is to never have another Transgender Day of Remembrance.
We are here because these lives matter. We are here because our lives matter. Thank you.
When Justin told me in December she was trans, there was a transition period for me a little while. Just a few months, but there was a transition period and a mourning period for me of losing my son. I no longer have a son. I now have a daughter. The graduation was a very joyous occasion, a party. I felt like I graduated. And, you know, it was very joyous because it was a difficult year, and she did it, and it was a great day. I was very, very, very proud of her and her accomplishments and getting her diploma, and she was on her way to her new life. She's graduated, she's almost an adult, she's still 17, but she wanted to go and take an adventure.
Him and his friend Ryan said, hey, we're gonna go to Humboldt. Once they were there, they made up every excuse in the world not to come back.
This is Clam Beach. This is the place that Chloe and Ryan first came to when they got to Humboldt. And they lived here for several weeks, just living on the beach and enjoying themselves, not worrying about much else. And this is also the place that I came when I moved to Humboldt. This is the first place that I slept as well.
D Street was a really hard environment for Chloe to live in because she had too much free time on her hands and a lot of time to think and stress out about how she was gonna make it from day to day.
Chloe came out to me about 4 months after knowing Justin. She came over to my house and we broke out all my clothes and skirts and shirts, and at the time she didn't have any girl clothes, and put her in one of my friend's bras and gave her some panties, and that was the first time I saw her happy since the day I met her. That was the first time.
She came out to Hannah first, and that was like, I think helped her to actually come out to me. Her dad was the last person.
Even after he graduated high school, just thought he was a normal teenage boy trying to find himself and what he wanted to do with life. And I got a letter. I've only shared this letter with one person. The letter says, Dear Dad, there's something I've been wanting to tell you for a long time, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I know it took my mom a while to understand, so I know this is going to be a major shock, but Dad, I am transgender. Basically, that means I was born with a female mind and spirit. This is no one's fault. You and my mom did nothing wrong to cause this, although it explains many of the frustrating and seemingly unsolvable problems you and my mom experienced while raising me.
She actually has a piece of artwork that she made that has everything pretty much outlined exactly right there. Like, she did it herself, you know, you could look at that. And she wanted to get a job and move to Arcata and get back and motivated about school. I mean, she just wanted to be successful and do the things that she enjoyed, because there were a lot of things that she enjoyed doing, you know what I mean?
When we were camping, she was very reserved. She wears her hoodie over her head, and it was hard to get her to come out and be her. It was hard.
She would not go out in public as a female with me. She was too afraid of what strangers would think.
It was too hard. It was just too hard.
Her brain really worked like a girl's. That is one thing, like, once you met her and you knew Chloe, like, she was a female. Like, there was no, like, doubting. I never, like, could call her Justin after that because it was so real to me.
You know, she ultimately felt like people would think she was a freak, like, no matter.
She knew what popular guys talk about, what teenage boys think of weirdos, of gays, of transgendered people, and she knew that their thoughts would be going through their head like, this person is a freak.
You know what I mean? Because it's like around our house, it was comfortable, it was like our safe zone. She could be herself, she could, like, whatever, you know, and then as soon as we were gonna go grocery shopping, you know, Chloe would run upstairs and then Justin would come down, you know what I mean?
She ended up getting stuck in Eureka when where she really wanted to be was Arcata. But to move would require an income and a job which she didn't have.
And then that goes along with the standards of care. Those financial issues were, if she can't even afford food each month, how is she gonna afford therapy once a week? How is she gonna afford the surgery? How, you know, like, what am I gonna do to have this extremely expensive procedure done?
Chloe was lost. She was overwhelmed.
And I was just trying to be like, you know what, you need to pick yourself up by your bootstraps, you need to get your, you know, ass and, like, look for a job.
Get off of D Street, just get out of that house and do anything besides what you're thinking about doing.
This is what you need to do, honey. This is what you need to do. Let me help you.
You're down so deep, there's no way out.
Everyone's saying, like, you need to try and get a job and, like, rent's coming up and...
Where is your emergency? One of my roommates shot himself. Like, trying to kill himself? Yeah.
I just remember just walking upstairs and, you know, I found her there.
That's when I saw her body. She had shot herself with a shotgun.
His head is, like, completely... I can't look at it like...
She shot herself.
Okay, what kind of gun is it? It's a shotgun. He shot himself in the head with a shotgun? Yeah.
I don't really remember much after that. I remember yelling and screaming, oh no.
Okay, do you think he's beyond medical help? Yes, I don't think there's really no hope.
I could just have one day with her.
I mean, I don't know, just, you know, my good friend that I really fucking miss.
I'm very excited. It's been the culmination of a long time, you know, about two and a half years that I've been in transition. It's almost surreal, you know, things are just kind of going by. I'm really calm inside, much calmer than I expected to be. I haven't really had any blatant rejection yet. My younger sister is struggling very much with it. She's not a bigot, but she's really having a hard time with her brother turning into her sister.
My ex-wife does know that I'm having surgery, and she is not at all happy. Even though we haven't been in each other's lives for years, she does not want it to happen. As recently as about 2 hours ago, I'm still getting emails coming in that are pleading with me not to do this, that it's the wrong thing, that I'm going to be terribly sorry for doing this, and I'm going to ruin my life.
to be able to go through life as yourself is really wonderful. It's like coming out of a cave into the sunlight. Oscar Wilde's quoted as saying, you have to be yourself because everybody else is taken.
I know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I just never thought I'd be this calm about it, but I am.
There will come a time 6 months down the road from now when you look at yourself in the mirror and say, I can't believe I did that. I'm so proud of myself. Wow, I actually finally got the courage to do this, and yeah, it's a good feeling. And you'll feel a sense of wellness that you didn't have before, and that's what makes the whole thing worth it.
This form is so that you understand everything that I can possibly think of that can go wrong.
I'm just ready to get it over with and move on with life. It'll be great.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks.
Two, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Patient's name is Federica Field. Her birthday is 6/14/1954. She's here for a gender-confirming surgery, a vaginoplasty, penectomy, bilateral orchiectomy, labiaplasty, urethroplasty, and a duroplasty. She has no drug allergies. Does she have what? Levaquin. Levaquin. Okay.
Blood pressure is 104/62. Doctor with a mean of 75.
Next one, anesthesia.
Pretty standard day. We did two patients, but we did 3 surgeries. So we did 2 vaginoplasties, and one of the patients had a breast augmentation at the same time, which is pretty common to have more than one surgery on the same patient. In surgery, all the surgeries are pretty routine, and this one's definitely something they never heard of. When I first started at the hospital, a lot of the nurses were a little nervous. So we did some training, and it's really amazing the teamwork involved. So even though I look like the star because I'm in charge, it's really the effort of a lot of people are involved. It's a really awesome feeling to just put your hand back and get that instrument. You don't even have to ask for it. They know what you want.
Removal of testicles, and I'm putting them in formaldehyde to preserve them, and they'll go down to the lab to make sure there's no cancer or other diseases.
One of the key people that help in the surgery is my physician's assistant, Crystal. Her role at that part of the surgery is to take the skin graft, which comes from the scrotum, and prepare it to be placed inside the vagina, which will be basically the vaginal lining. So she fashions it in a circular tube and makes sure that all the hair is removed from it.
Hey, girlfriend. How you doing?
Hi. Wow, that was quick.
Yeah,
Is it over?
it's over. It's done.
I'm so glad you came. Thank you so much for being here for me. My oldest son has pretty much pushed me out of his life, and I think he's confused as much as hurt. My daughter Lisa's 26 years old. I'm not really welcome at her house at this point, and I take what I can get with her. My youngest son, Brian, he's 23, almost 24. Brian has met Pam, and he's not a huge supporter, but very open and willing to have me in his life as Pam, and I deeply appreciate that.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, shit.
How's that feel?
It hurts.
Yeah. Now scoot yourself little by little to the edge of the bed. Put your feet on the floor.
Nice and slow.
And take your time here.
Stay sitting.
Remember what I was saying?
Yeah, but it hurts
The
to sit.
reward is I'm going to scratch your back.
Thank you.
Does that feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Today you're going to get out of bed. It'll be like 5 minutes.
Right.
You might feel, with your blood pressure being low, you might feel a little lightheaded when you do that. So I want you to sit at the side of the bed until you don't feel lightheaded. And watch the snow.
Yes.
If you think this is hard, when we take the vaginal packing out, you have to dilate 5 times a day.
I heard that's going to be fun.
Yes.
When I got married, I really did love my wife. I loved her very, very much. And I thought I could push the transgenderism away.
And that's the most difficult part for a lot of people, is reconciling the fact that they went all of this time denying who they really were, and now they've got to, they have a need to catch up and to actually live authentically.
And eventually none of it works. You just have to, at least in my case, I just had to deal with it. I have a hunch with my second wife that she'd always not held out hope that we'd get back together, but had some sense that, well, maybe he won't do it. But she did.
Hey, guess what? I just signed up to go to Philadelphia. They're having lectures on bottom surgery, top surgery, on binding, and like all these different things. But I wanted to know if you could give me a ride to the airport.
So are you excited?
I would like to welcome you on behalf of the Planning Committee for the 2011 Philadelphia Trans Health Conference.
I began my transition in 1988, and I had my first consciousness of myself as different in about 1952.
By the time I was 12, I was fully transgender, and my dad says, well, we don't want him back at home. And this is at the age of 13, and I get disheartened when I think about what I went through, but they found a way to commit me. For 2 years and a half, I stayed incarcerated, and primarily because I was transgender.
The requirements for top surgery, it comes up later, are about the same as a hormone recommendation.
I spent 19 years prior to transition as a lesbian feminist separatist. And I got to tell you, having a penis, it really is something that I had to come to terms with before I even sought out the procedure.
And then I start to talk about, what do you want from testosterone? Because if somebody tells me and they're 5'2" and they tell me they want to be 6'4", we have to have a conversation about that.
It took me another 3 or 4 years to come to terms with the fact that I was going to be perceived as, treated like, and expected to perform as a man in society. which I have no idea what that means.
It's a wraparound binder, so it's different than your traditional binders where you pull it overhead. You take it and you wrap it around yourself. So it can go as tight as you want it to go or as loose as you want it to be.
I need to breathe.
Right.
If you wanted to, I mean, my son is coming to visit me, and he's a young trans man like you. And if you wanted to, you could tell your mom we could get together, we could have coffee or something.
Really?
Like the four of us could hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do. You know?
Oh wow. No, that would be awesome.
My experience isn't necessarily going to be your experience exactly. So I'm just giving you another perspective to think about.
Yeah.
And you have to make that into whatever you make it into for you.
The first year on testosterone is kind of a wild ride.
Is that what's going to make me a real man? I mean, I was confused about it.
This is what my heaven would look like. People just exploring every type of clothing and every type of just being themselves, and it's just so awesome.
The question is about surgery. Anything decent here, or is it always out of the country? And can you have an orgasm after surgery?
Breast augmentation in trans women is completely different than regular breast augmentation. The chest is wider, the nipples are smaller.
You don't get to see this like out in the world, just all of us together, and it's so empowering to be here.
Connected with people close to you, but continue to connect with people outside of you, because this is how we're going to build a stronger movement and a stronger community.
This is going to be your room during the labor process. It's exciting.
Oh, you had a big one there.
I did?
Did you feel it?
No. I'm fine. I guess.
So we wait until she has pain, or?
Exactly. I'm
Okay.
gonna keep increasing
Okay.
until her contractions are 2 to 3 minutes apart and they hurt.
Okay. They're 5 minutes apart. Easy. Orange or cherry?
Where's the Cool Whip?
She's 3 centimeters dilated and baby A's water.
My blood pressure is high.
My blood pressure's higher than that. That's nothing. That's nothing.
I feel pretty relaxed. I don't even feel like I felt more nervous going into like basketball games.
You're regular, man. You're having a contraction every 4 minutes. It's like the Grand Canyon.
This is the worst one.
Oh, she just turned it up.
This is the worst contraction. Yeah, it just really hurts. That push.
Every time she had a contraction, Lucas's placenta wasn't working as well as Eden's, so his heart rate would go down. That happened 4 or 5 times. Then our doctor made the decision to go for a C-section.
Now again, you're going to feel pressure.
Feel pressure.
guys were amazing. Thank you.
Best day of my life. Absolutely.
I came across an article about 5 years ago that talked about these protocols for adoptive women that want to breastfeed their adoptive kids. And that's when I really said, oh, well, I should be able to do that.
You know, church is about people. We're people. And Jesus once said, whenever you get together, make sure you invite everybody. Don't leave anybody out. Just turn around and look at the people. Do they look different? Some people like to stand, some people like to sit. We're all different. That's really true. Which one of these do you think is the boy and which one's the girl? Why? Why do you think this is the boy? Shorter hair? But you know, I've seen guys with long hair, and I've seen girls with short hair, so you can't always even judge. No, you can't. It's what's on the inside that's really important, and how we feel about ourselves. And to be able to say, this is me, and I feel good on the inside.
I always wondered whether I would have regrets. I thought maybe I'd have them going in, and I didn't. And I thought right after surgery I'd feel this sense of loss, and I didn't. I have absolutely no regrets.
You know, I just misjudged things. I thought that the people that were closest to me would stay there and be there for me, and they're really not. And you know what I'm talking about. I mean, I miss my kids. I never realized it would end up this way with them. I thought it would be tough, but I thought they would keep talking to me and we could work through it. I'm the same person. My character's the same. You know, to me it's like putting different paper on a present. What's inside the box is the same. It's just a different wrapper.
You know, they'll come around.
It hurts most at night. You know, I dream.
Yeah.
And they're not good. They're never good. I just wish I could reach out and fix it. I've always fixed everything for my family, and I can't fix this.
We're all born different, everybody. And yet, through humanity, we all share much more in common than we do that are different. But what makes us different from each other is something to be celebrated.
I wanted to have a place that I can come in and feel her, what I have left of Chloe and some of her Chloe's stuff. I really wanted her to have her bracelets and her makeup out and her curling iron and her hair stuff, her Chloe clothes and everything that she enjoyed. And so hanging them up in the closet was fun for me, and I had a lot of memories doing that. Then just some odds and ends pieces that are a part of her. And so I find a lot of peace by being in here.
And to know that Chloe was an artist and that she could have done so many more things with her talent. And I wanted to represent this shadowing that is going on here. So I started to do some of that splatter weld on this flower and bring some of that, real texture that she had brought into it. And so to make a mark and a lasting impression of what she was able to create while she was here is really the important thing. To keep her here with us.
Chloe Lacey ended her life because she was afraid of what might happen to her. She had supportive parents.
What we do know, surveying and studying the experiences of transgender adults, most of them say they knew they were transgender between the ages of 5 and 7, and that 41% of them have attempted suicide. That is higher than any group on the planet, bar none.
41%. The national average of suicide attempts is 1.6%.
Unfortunately, many fellow Christians, especially those on the religious right, argue that one should accept how one is born as the will of God, insisting that, quote, God doesn't make mistakes. They judge transgenders when they opt for therapy and surgery to match their bodies to their gender identity. Now, according to that logic, we would never separate Siamese twins or fix cleft palates. Transgender people face injustice at every turn of their lives, in their childhood homes, schools, workplaces that can be so harsh and cruel, at the grocery store, the hotel front desk, in doctors' offices and emergency rooms, before judges, at the hands of landlords, police officers, healthcare workers. Remember, we're talking about individual people, but it could also be you, or me, or our children, or our grandchildren.
What is wrong that someone has so little hope? We need to do something about this. We need to take responsibility. We need to own the hope that we want to see in the world. Not just the change, but the hope. We need to be that hope and show the world that we are here.
I find hope that we've had more gains in the last 10 years than we had in 30 or 20 years. That gives me hope that the trans kids that were born yesterday, today, and the trans kids around the world born tomorrow are going to have a better society and a better future than we did 20 and 30 years ago, than when I was born.
One of the things I love about working in this community is that I get to meet on a daily basis some of the bravest people I've ever met in my life, because they're willing to confront the fact that they could potentially lose everything to be true to themselves.
I'm proud of who we are. I'm proud of what we've accomplished together. So, we're not out to change the world. We're just out to be happy and raise our family.
Your makeup looks nice.
They are lesbian partners raising 4-month-old twins. That's a handful. While Lisa is the twins' biological mother. Here's the bombshell. Here is the bombshell. Christine, the blonde mommy you just saw, actually fathered the twins. What? Yes, I said fathered. Here's how. 10 years ago, Christine was Chris, a handsome officer in the Navy, a pilot. Well, you know, I've said many things and had multiple introductions on this show in 25 years. I've never been able to say, here is a mother who fathered her own children.
That's the first.
You are the first. It's good for the new season. You're right. Never been able to say that.
As a trans woman, I live every day with fear. Basically, you know, on a day-to-day basis, I'm very conscious of my surroundings in terms of where I go, my safety, how people perceive me, and how people react to me when I'm around them.
Sometimes the medical community is very fearful and even biased about transgender people.
And doctors say things like, we don't see your kind of people here.
Together, we also have to keep sending a message to every young person in this country who might feel alone or afraid because they're gay or transgender, maybe getting picked on or pushed around because they're different. You've got to make sure they know that there are adults they can talk to, that they are never alone, that there is a whole world waiting for them filled with possibility.
I love you. Wish me luck.